live.
What's hot? Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni.
Yeah, when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper and go get it.
It's Mahomes' house. And it is good. Woo! Arrowhead man. The Lombardi Trophy is a red and gold reflection. You gotta fight for your right to party.
Woo! Howdy, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. That means it's time for Chiefs Kingdom Live. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. Don't forget, real quick, click like, click subscribe, tell a friend, tell a family member, tell another Chiefs fan, tell them to tell more Chiefs fans. We'd sure appreciate the help spreading the word. Got a good show tonight. Lots of little topics to discuss here. Chiefs training camp started. Chris Jones contract extension still lingering out there. D-Hop gets away, but I think Chiefs end up being all right there. Some other NFL news, some running backs, one of them in the division, maybe possibly holding out for the year. We'll talk about that situation, and then just kind of running backs in the NFL in general. Looks like we got a bunch of people in the chat already. Brenda, Chris, John V, Laney. I think my boy Shake, old Eric, said he watched last week. I appreciate that. If this is your first time here, like I said, click like, click subscribe. We'd sure appreciate that. You can check us out on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, Chiefs Kingdom Live. Before we get started here, Nick, how you doing tonight, man?
Good, man. Good. I finished the quarterback documentary series on Netflix today and got me kind of nostalgic, thinking back to that time we won the Super Bowl 5 months ago. And so I went ahead and busted out the Super Bowl jersey from Patrick Mahomes. So I wanted to finish that up because I wanted to be able to talk about it for the show today. So I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing real well. I'm just trying to avoid this mug outside, man. I don't know if you got outside much today, but the humidity was it was brutal, and it wasn't really hot outside, so there was no sunlight. It just was this like blanket of moisture that was just on you all day. It was nasty. It even kind of smelled like a little dingy outside. I don't know, but trying to stay away from that. Good. Otherwise, just ready for Chiefs training camp, man. We'll just get into it. Rookies and quarterbacks have reported. Some of the veteran guys are going to start rolling in here. Chiefs are going to get going. They're going to get started. Had some Patrick Mahomes highlights from training camp, throw into some rookies. Man, that's got to, even if it's just in a practice in the first day of training camp, catching passes from Patrick Mahomes, man, that's got to be dope. I'm going to try and get up there maybe on Monday. Be interested to see if anybody else is going to try and get up there. Looks like our man Chris is watching from the Shania Twain concert.
Dang, man.
Good man, Chris. You are a good man. Looks like Big Doug's joining us here. What's up, Big Doug? Good to see you, man. Thanks. Glad you can make it. Training camp. Just what are your thoughts? I know you and I have gone up there a couple times. We went up there. I want to say, was it after? It was after the AFC Championship first loss to the Patriots, right?
Yep.
We went up there. Patrick Mahomes had kind of already blew up on the scene, but watching him in person, even in practice with some of the guys out there, is a ton of fun. What do you think about training camp, and what are you looking forward to seeing from the guys up there in St. Joe?
It's a lot of fun. It's one of those things where I wouldn't want to be out there for 10 hours, but it's cool. Like you had season tickets. We went up there. I think they had a pancake breakfast for the season ticket members. You get to see the players. You get to see them up close, kind of messing around, see them doing drills. We were checking out, I think that was the first year we had Steve Spagnuolo. So we were watching the drills he was doing with the players. It gives you a little bit different perspective. One of the things you're talking about, how it felt outside today, it wasn't that hot, but man, I would not want to be trying to run around outside for any extended period of time in that weather. It'd be pretty gross. So we had some reports that some players we'll talk about here in a second about that, but yeah, it's good. the Chiefs run notoriously one of the hardest training camps still around in the league. A lot of, I think, the newer age coaching methodologies are that you take it a little bit easier on your players and, you know, you don't want to wear them out and potentially cause injuries and stuff before the season starts. Andy Reid's obviously an old school guy, so he's not prescribing to that theory. And I think that you kind of see that sometimes where they have these explosions in the fourth quarter. It's good to see that the guys are out there getting conditioned and getting ready for the season, man. I mean, it's, you know, the first step, right? I mean, it's first step into getting football back is when training camp starts. So,
right. Yeah, we're inching closer. Like I said, I think I'm going to try and get up there on Monday. Maybe I'll put some stuff on the channel. Maybe I'll get some shorts or some Patrick Mahomes highlights. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to. I want to see what the wide receivers look like with Tyreek Hill leaving year before last, and then Juju coming in for 1 year and then leaving. They've got the rookie Rice in there. They got Sky Moore in his second year. MVS is, I don't know, maybe projected to be the number one receiver on this team this year, but McCole Hardman is gone. There's guys on here with a lot of potential. Justin Ross is a guy that is getting a lot of positivity, but also a lot of negativity. They just think that he's too injured, and the injury history, especially the types of injuries he's dealt with, are going to be too much to overcome. Got guys, Richie James is in here. It is going to be a healthy competition at the wide receiver position. Outside of 3 or 4 guys, I don't think there's anybody out there that's just a lock, right, to make the team. Obviously, MVS and Sky Moore and Rashee Rice, the draft pick, is a lock. But Justin Watson, these guys, Kadarius Toney, I guess you could probably say he's a lock too.
Yeah.
But outside of those, there's
going
to be right. Yeah, if you can keep off Twitter. Yeah, that's I don't know what to think there. I bet we see an end to that though. I bet Andy Reid and Clark Hunt, they get to Tony and say, okay, fun's over. Let's get serious and let's worry about the games on the field. But yeah, there's 2-3 spots. Some people I saw speculating maybe they'll keep a 7th receiver now that they've gotten rid of the fullback position. Maybe they'll keep an extra running back. Hard to say, but there's a couple spots on this team at wide receiver that are wide open, and there are going to be guys battling to make this team play with Patrick Mahomes. These last 2 or 3 spots, who are you looking at? I know Justin Watson's a guy that got some familiarity, but he's also kind of a journeyman guy that made the team last year, didn't really flash a whole lot. I mean, he made a couple big plays here and there and some clutch catches, but maybe a Justin Ross. What are you looking at, and who do you think is got maybe the inside track on these last few spots on the roster?
Yeah, I think that last spot, I mean, Justin Ross, it's his to lose from everything you've heard, right?
Right.
We had a couple of guys we signed. I can't remember his name. He from the Bengals. He ran like the
John
fast
Ross.
John Ross, the other Ross. Yeah. So, shit, how did I forget that, huh? So anyway, you know, we've got a couple of these dudes that we've signed off of waivers type deals. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, it's good. And you're sitting there and people are still talking about us potentially signing guys that are getting waived or cut. And it's just like, we're talking about like, who's even going to make the roster. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's good. It's weird to have nobody proven and feel also at the same time, like you have a lot of talent at wide receiver that, to play out. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Right. I mean, we got a full, you know, training camp and preseason before we find out who gets those spots before they trim down the roster. So,
yeah, that's going to be one of the more contested position groups there.
Oh yeah,
quarterback, obviously, tight end. Them guys are kind of locked in there. Jody Fortson is a guy that's flashed. That I don't know if he's fighting for a position, but nothing's guaranteed outside of a handful of guys on the offense and the defense, and those rookies are in there battling. So should be fun, should be interesting. The thing I like about training camp is the players, you're real close, right, to the action right there. And then afterwards, the players walk around, sign autographs, like you mentioned. You kind of get to chat with them a little bit. Our man Bo, he's on his way. Okay, so
You're only getting paid for half the show today, Bo.
what's half a zero again?
I don't know. When I try to do it in Excel, I get an error.
Right. Same as Dove 2 times 0, I believe. But yeah, our man Bo, we weren't sure if he was going to jump in here, make it or not, but it looks like he's on his way. So hopefully he can get in here. But you just never know about that Bo. He might show up in the chat. He might be on the screen. You just never know where that guy's gonna.
They're sipping on that Kentucky bourbon.
Right. Another kind of storyline, and as training camp gets more players start showing up, and we start getting more news and maybe some projected rosters and position group battles, and see how those are going. Injuries too happen in training camp. Unfortunately, that's a big part of it. You mentioned the Chiefs having a tougher training camp. There's two schools of thought when it comes to that. You take it easy and don't get your guys hurt. You also, a lot of these old school coaches too, they think getting in there and getting beat up and taking some licks early on get you toughened up and get you ready for contact for the season. Hard to argue with the success of the Chiefs the last 4 years and Andy Reid overall, even before Patrick got here the last 4 or 5 seasons, just winning records. So he knows what he's doing. He runs a tough camp, but it's a good camp. Marty Schottenheimer, notoriously, and Dick Vermeil ran tough training camps too. I remember guys like Willie Rofe saying, I might have been able to play another 2 or 3 years if I didn't have to go through those Dick Vermeil training camps after I came to Kansas City. So I'm of the belief you need to get out there and practice, and you don't worry about injury, okay? Now, I'm not saying you need to have Patrick Mahomes out there in the third quarter of a meaningless preseason game. I'm not saying throw caution to the wind. But get out there and get ready for the season and be ready to go, ready and hit the ground running week 1, because every week's important, and especially in this AFC that's loaded. So we'll be getting more updates and more news here weekly as training camp progresses. Nick, I was thinking that last time we went up to training camp, I want to say Chris Jones was in like a contract extension talk when we were up there last time, because he was over there by a crowd of people, and they were saying, Chris, what do you coming back? What are you doing? How's your contract going? He's like, I ain't here to talk about that. I'm just here to sign y'all stuff. Super nice guy. You got that feel, that vibe from just being around him and watching him interact with the fans. He's just a down to earth, solid, just good guy. So, no news yet on the Chris Jones contract extension. It seems to be that most people think it's a foregone conclusion that that's going to happen. But every day and every week that goes by without any news, you get closer, you're into training camp and in the season, and you sure players getting a little bit of worry, a little bit more worry than you had maybe a week or 2 ago, Nick. I'd be interested to see what the chat thinks, too, about Chris Jones and getting the deal done.
I'm not worried. He's under contract for this year. And he may not play under a franchise tag while they try to work out another deal. The problem is that the longer the Chiefs delay it, right? I mean, we've seen this in the past where then it blows up and they lose leverage. And so then it may get to a point where, we either have to, get rid of some good players to keep him that we wouldn't have had to, or, we basically just have to try to trade him. And if he's not under contract, then you've seen what's happened with some of these other star players where they just end up, cutting the guy loose. So and get nothing for him. So that's the worry with the contract talks not panning out. So, I mean, look, I think everybody's nervous. We're like, well, before training camp, we thought we were going to get the deal. We're going to get the news, there's been some off-season drama where, evidently he said he was sick. He didn't attend the Super Bowl ring ceremony. I happen to believe him there. But yeah, I'm not worried. I mean, I think they're going to figure it out. They're going to do right by him. The other thing that I guess would be a worry is that every year that we don't sign him, the contract prices just keep going up, right? So if you sign him now instead of signing him next year, you're probably saving yourself millions of dollars in the long run over what the contract's going to go to. We saw what happened with the wide receiver market. So, as the salary cap keeps going up, these contracts are getting crazy, man. These guys are getting paid lots of money. So
a lot of money. You were talking about waiting an extra year, waiting longer, and costing you more money. Remember Justin Houston? The Chiefs waited on his contract, and then he almost set an NFL record for sacks. Was really the only premier player on the defense, had all the leverage, and he ended up getting a huge payday. So I'm not worried about it. I would feel better if it was done than not done. But
yeah, sure.
That doesn't mean I'm worried about it. That doesn't mean I don't think it's happening. Looks like our guy John B is in the house. John seems to think that he's entertaining offers on the back end, and Bo's saying that Friday's supposedly the day for Chris's contract. You're not getting Chris Jones, John V. I'm sorry, man. It's not going to happen. So
we could interest you in a slightly used D Ford, though.
These trucks are D Ford tough, folks. Old D Ford. Man, I couldn't believe that. I remember when I saw that news come through, the 49ers had traded for D Ford. I was laughing. I think I had just kind of gotten hooked up and met John V at that time. So, yeah, that's a good point, John. Teams never stay the same. It was a really unique situation the Chiefs had after winning the Super Bowl 54, right? They brought back 22 or 23 or 24 starters or whatever, some crazy number like that. So we'll see what they do there. But, yeah, you're going to lose guys. Guys are going to come and go, but they got that core and they got the coach. When you got the quarterback and you got the coach, you're in good position. So not losing sleep over Chris Jones' deal. Looking forward to seeing that get done, seeing what kind of money that comes in. I did a couple of polls this week. I was just interested to see, because a lot of talk about the defensive tackle market, and people were saying, is Quinnen Williams with the Jets going to sign first, or is Chris Jones who's going to kind of set that market? Aaron Donald has got a albatross contract at that position, so that kind of is the outlier. I don't know that a lot of teams are using that as the measuring stick for signing defensive tackles, but Quinnen Williams ends up getting his deal. I kind of want to know what Chiefs Kingdom thought about what that would mean for the Chris Jones deal. Chris Jones is obviously a superior player, but there's been players and talk about taking team-friendly deals to help keep talent on the roster and attract other guys. There was some belief that maybe they could get Chris's deal done so that they could go in and bring in maybe like a D-Hop or something, which we'll get to here in a minute. But I just wanted to see what everybody thought about the Quinnen Williams contract, if Chris Jones would come in over or under the total dollars. Now, I caught a lot of heat on Twitter, which it's Twitter. You always catch heat on Twitter, right? But
no way, really?
About, are you serious? Are you serious? That's a serious question about, well, here's the deal. Like, Chris Jones might take a deal with more guaranteed money than total dollars, right? Or maybe he takes a longer deal, but a less per value, or more, or even a shorter deal with more money per year. Maybe he takes a 3-year deal or something. So I wanted to see what Chiefs Kingdom thought about the possibility of him taking less than the Jets defensive tackle. I think, Nick, you got that queued up here.
Yep.
Um, 91% thought it was going to be more. I mean, I'm in the more camp too. I expect it to be. I just thought maybe there's an outside chance that maybe Quinnen Williams' deal, I want to say, was like 96 million, 98 million, right in there somewhere. Maybe offer Chris Jones like a huge signing bonus and you get him at 90 or 85, but a big chunk of it is in signing bonus and guaranteed. There's ways to work that around. So, Nick, what do you think? You think Chris Jones gets more money total in the contract?
Yeah, I think so. Right. I'm in the majority here. I don't think he's going to be taking a super team friendly deal. I think that he's going to be looking and saying, well, here's what the market will bear. Right. And I'm not saying that, he's going to be greedy, but he has 2 Super Bowl rings. Right. So, it's not like he's ring chasing. Now, does he want us to stay and see if he can win 4? Right. I mean, there's that. is another 2 Super Bowl rings worth losing $30 million or something over, if that's what it turns out to be. I don't know. So we looks like we got our man Joseph in here. Bo, you're live.
What's up, Bo?
1 second.
Oh shit! I need 1 minute. Shit, sorry guys.
Oh,
I didn't even.
sorry,
I
I said
came
add
in here.
stream. All right, my bad. Here, I messed Bo up here. So
That's all right.
anyway, so
It's
yeah,
all
I
live
think we can
TV.
take more. It's a professional show, folks. So while we're waiting for Bo to jump in, we'll say what's up to our boy Shippy.
Yeah, Shippy.
He's jumping in the chat. Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Yeah.
We're
Been a
we're
minute since we saw
have
our
you.
guy Shippy. Hope you've been doing well, bro. Good to see you. Thanks for coming back,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, so the Chris Jones deal, I think everybody's expecting it to come in at more money, but you never know. Maybe they work something in there, like I said, where bird in hand's worth two in the bush, right? How many times have you seen these guys sign these big deals and it's a 5-year, $150 million contract, but then you start looking at it and it's like, well, the team could get out of it after 2 years and 70 million or whatever. So it's really like a 2-year, $50 million deal with incentives. So Brett Veach has been a magician in the front office with contracts and making cap room, keeping these guys. It's just when you nail drafts and you bring in talent the way the Chiefs have the last handful of years.
Yeah.
I was looking at L'Jarius Sneed coming up. That dude's going to be a free agent. And then the year after that, you've got Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and Nick Bolton all going to be free agents in 2025. Like,
it's going to be tough.
Going to be some tough decisions to be made coming up in the next year or two on this roster with some of these guys. Now, obviously, guys fall off, guys leave, renegotiate, restructure. But just when you have this much talent on the team, it's almost impossible, if not impossible, to keep everybody on the squad. Looks like we got our man Bo's ready. Bo?
Gentlemen, sorry about that. Oh, man, just hectic past couple hours. Good to see you guys. Hello.
Hey, better late than never, bro. Better late than never.
Yeah,
so
hey,
glad
right. I'm here. I showed up.
Well, what do you think about you put in the comments there in the chat that you thought Friday might be the day for his deal? What do you think that comes in? You think it comes in more than what was it when Williams' contract now? Now I can't remember if it was like 96 or 98 million, I want to say. You think Chris comes in more total dollars than that?
Wow, that is nowhere near the number I heard whatsoever. But no, I think it's going to be a little bit less than that. What was Aaron Donald's contract for?
His was like 5 years, 150 million, or he was like at 30 million. Quentin Williams, I want to say, came in at like 24 or 25 million per year on that deal. It was like 4 years, 24.5 million per year or something.
Yeah, I'm with you now on the math. No, I think it's going to be more than that. Aaron Donald has such a ridiculous contract that I don't think we see that contract come up again at that number until inflation hits even higher than it already has. But I think it would be somewhere between Aaron Donald. It's going to be over that. He's going to be number 2. I feel like that's been the holdup. That's what we've all been waiting for. It's a lot of money that he's asking for, and deservedly so. The guy deserves it. He's the beast. Pay that man his money. He deserves it. I don't know how much you guys have talked about the D-Hop contract and him holding out for that. I never really thought that was a thing, but no, I think
that we were gonna get to that next. So
no, I think it'd be more than I think he's gonna be number 2. To answer your the CKL weekly poll there. I voted more on that poll. So
yeah, most people did, obviously. Again, I thought maybe I just want to see how many people thought maybe there's an outside chance he takes a little bit more of a team-friendly deal. Or like I said, it's all about guaranteed money and signing bonuses with these players these days.
Yeah.
Maybe you take a deal where it's but you're guaranteed to make 3/4 of it, right? Or you just tell a guy, look, it's not going to be as much per year as this guy, but you're going to get this much no matter what happens. You could go out and never play again after the first snap of the first game of the year, and you're going home with a big bag of money. So,
Has anybody ever, besides Brady, because I mean Brady's kind of notorious for doing that. Has anybody that I can't think of anybody that's made a team friendly deal to go out and win? I mean, like recency bias, like Tyreek Hill didn't have that
No.
mindset, right? Like I can't think of a player other than Tom Brady in the recent past, in NFL wise, that has made a team friendly deal to go or to help out a team.
Hard to say. Travis Kelce's got a pretty team friendly deal when you look at. He's in that weird area though, where he's a tight end.
Tight end, yeah.
Pay as much, but
Yeah.
Travis Kelce, tight end, whatever position you want to call him, he's been a top 3 or 4 receiver in the NFL for the last 7, 8 seasons now.
Yeah,
so,
completely. Yeah.
He's talked about it on New Heights where he goes, yeah, I could probably get more money, but he's playing for legacy, not money. So maybe he's got a team friendly deal. There's a certain NFL.
He's on the upper end of tight end contracts, though. That's for sure.
He is. Yeah.
I think Kittle's is the only one that's more than his, right?
Right. Yeah, Kittle's? I think so.
Is that what you said?
Kittle. Yeah, Kittle. Yeah. I think is more like per year.
Right. George Brittle, as I like to call him, to irritate our guy John V there in the chat.
He can kind of block, though. I hear.
Yeah. Hey, just off topic, real quick. I was doing some mock drafts for fantasy football, and I was seeing George Kittle was going in like the 5th round. I'm like, dude, if I see George Kittle sitting there in the 5th round, I guarantee I'll be picking him up in some leagues. But I think
easily, right?
I think we are going to do the CKL league. I think I got enough feedback on the Twitter posts that we can get enough guys, get a 10 or 12 man.
Awesome. League going on. That's going to be great.
So if you're in the chat and you're interested in that, you haven't seen it on Twitter, make sure you get a hold of us if you're interested in getting in on that.
Hold on. Are you the commissioner? Are you going to be the commissioner of the CKL league?
I mean, I will. Or
no, I'm just kidding. You're trustworthy enough.
You're more than welcome to if you'd like to. If you'd like to do all the work.
It's like send me.
If everybody wants to get all their updates,
like fat head on my wall behind me.
What's that, Nate?
Send me all your money for this league so I can put another fat head on my wall behind me.
Hey, by the way,
I actually didn't pay
downstairs, dude. That looks really good.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to figure out what I need to do to get lighting. I'm probably gonna be posted up down here for the season. So
your lighting looks great. It almost looks like you got a green screen behind you. Like you took a picture of your game room and you're green screening it right now.
Yeah, so I'm going to work on getting a mic and getting a little bit better audio quality. We're looking forward to doing some different things this year and hopefully growing the show a bunch. We grew a lot last year, so we're going to try and build on that this season. But back to team-friendly deals, I mean, Mike Blorio or whatever you want to call him, he seems to think Patrick Mahomes got a team-friendly contract. So, yeah, and Laney's right. I didn't pay for any of these fat heads. So, sometimes you get lucky. But
it's not about what you know. It's about who you know sometimes, right?
That's 1,000,000% true. Like you said, it's not what you know. It's who you know, and it's all about timing. Life is all about timing, right place, right time. So,
it's true.
So I think Chris Jones is going to come in and get that number 2 defensive tackle contract. Well earned. No argument there. Some guys are just worth that money, and when they ask for it, you give it to them. We've talked about him being the Patrick Mahomes of the defense. So there was some speculation, and Bo, you got in just in time to gloat from last week because I believe you were the only one that said that D-Hop was not lone wolf that pick and said that D-Hop was not going to be on the Chiefs. Turns out that perhaps the Chiefs, even with the restructure of Chris Jones, were not going to be able to offer DeAndre Hopkins the kind of money it needed to lure him away from another team. Looks like he's signing with the Tennessee Titans. What are you guys' thoughts? Nick, we'll go to you first. I know you thought, like I did, that he was going to be on the team. I just thought that he had visited all these teams and left without a contract and was like sit around waiting. Like what's he waiting for? He must be waiting on the Chiefs to get something done here. Not the case. He goes to Tennessee. How disappointed are you that he's not a Chief, Nick? And what do you think of the move, the signing with Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, look, I wasn't like devastated that we didn't sign D-Hop. It would have been nice, nice addition to the team. But that's what I get for buying Twitter hype. and listening to people on Twitter that like have like zero clue what the fuck is actually happening, right? So I bought into it, and I'd love to say that I'm going to be wiser, but I'm probably going to fall for it again the next time it happens. So no, but I mean, I'm not devastated. We just won the Super Bowl. Like John said, like, you know, you're playing with house money when you win the Super Bowl for one thing. But for another thing, like, we won the Super Bowl with a, dare I say, mediocre wide receiver core last year, right?
Sure.
So, you know, we've got a lot of talent. Bo, you were saying we have 14 wide receivers going into training camp.
Yeah, that's what I
So,
have listed.
I mean,
yeah.
if we can't find enough good dudes to you know, work around with Patrick Mahomes, then our guys don't deserve to be coaches, right? So I'm good. I mean, it would have been nice, you know, to add him to the team, to have a definite number one. Just know that going into the season that you got that guy covered. But I'm good. How are you?
I think it's one of those things, right, where like I don't think anybody was rooting against that to happen. It was just it would be one of those instances where we could have our cake, eat it too, and have DeAndre Hopkins on our team. And like I think we listed it out last week, it would have eliminated a lot of our wide receiver worries. We would have had a wide receiver one. I mean, arguably we would have. And like to Nick's point, last year we kind of won a Super Bowl without a clear wide receiver one. Our tight end was kind of our wide receiver one. So I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot because it fascinated me how much the Twitter world blew up and was just upset. Everybody seemed to be so mad, or like Veach couldn't pull it out, and like I sensed a lot of anger. I mean, I know that's the internet and that's Twitter as it is, but like everybody was just upset about this, and it's just like, have you not seen what this guy's doing with rookies? Like, can we not get this "In Veach We Trust" slogan back and just ringing loud, because this guy knows what he's doing. And I gotta say, after kind of sitting back and thinking about it, I like the investment in younger guys. Patrick Mahomes, and if he likes these younger guys, like let's go with what Patrick likes right now. If that guy's rolling and he likes these younger guys and doesn't want to, and that's kind of like the mode he's pushing to the coaches, let's roll with that. And I kind of feel like that's where the team is right now.
Yeah, I don't know. My disappointment level is like a 3 out of 10. I was a little bummed when I saw the news scroll across the Twitter stream there the other morning. Put a tweet out about it. I said this going into last year too, and it's just like there's a slight concern at the wide receiver position, which is funny. You know, Bo was talking about "In Veach We Trust." When you go on Chiefs Twitter or Chiefs social media, it's Patrick can make anybody better, but then as soon as we don't get the receiver that we all wanted or that everybody wanted, then it's like, what are they doing? They don't know what they're doing. Patrick needs all this help. So it kind of like instantly flip-flops the opinions there. But, I mean, I'm all for making Patrick's life a little bit easier. Look, yeah, they lost Tyreek Hill and won the Super Bowl, and that's great. But how many years did, you know, Aaron Rodgers, they neglect an offensive? Now, they did get Devontae Adams his last handful of years there. But, you know, they didn't go out and get, you know, spend a first-round pick on another receiver. You know, last year, Patrick threw for 5,000 yards, and I don't think any wide receiver had 1,000 yards. I think Juju was close with 980, somewhere in there. So he got close to 1,000. I guess you could round that up and say he was a 1,000-yard receiver. But can he do it again? Absolutely, he can do it again. He's Patrick Mahomes, right? I mean, watch the quarterback docuseries, which we're going to get to here in a minute. I think we've all had a chance to finish that up. So, yeah, but I would have felt better about the wide receiving core having a former All-Pro, more of a known commodity. That's just like it's an unknown commodity at the wide receiver group right now. There is a lot of guys that that got something to prove. Not that they can't do it, and not that Patrick can't get the best out of them. So I'm not expecting, you know, Patrick to regress and all of a sudden the passing game's not going to work or anything like that. But I was a little excited, so I was hopefully he was going to get on the team. My hope for DeAndre Hopkins really went up when he was released, and I realized that we weren't going to have to trade anything for him. At that point, I became a lot more in the get D-Hop on the Chiefs bandwagon than I had been before. But he's going to the Titans. Looks like I got our man Cole in here. Good to see you, Cole. Appreciate you swinging in.
Hell yeah.
I Bo talked about the vitriol from Chiefs Kingdom towards DeAndre Hopkins. I felt that was a little undeserved or a little over the top. Look, he went for more money, but he didn't get $27 million. He didn't get $20 million a year. He got a good deal for a receiver his age, but it was only 2 years. I guarantee you.
What was his deal? What was the total? Wasn't it 20? I thought it was 20.
It was like 2 years with like up to 26 million, 28 million possible.
It wasn't a lot of money
like that. So that's not a lot of money for a top shelf wide receiver if you still consider D-Hop a top. I mean, Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill are out there getting in the high 20s, close to 30 million a year, right? So I just sitting there saying, oh, he chose money over a ring. I mean, he definitely chose money because I don't think the Chiefs obviously were going to be able to pay him close to what the Titans offered him.
Right.
But guys like that, man, like he's going there thinking, I'm going to get this payday. I'm going to get the most money from this team. And they got Derrick Henry. And this is a team that was, a couple years removed from an AFC championship appearance. I make the team that much better. I guarantee you D-Hop isn't looking at it thinking, oh, well, I can take this money or I can take this ring and it's going to be one or the other. I guarantee you the guy thinks that he makes them a Super Bowl contender and that he could get the payday and get the ring. So
what do you think the Chiefs were offering him that he's just like,
I don't know.
I'm going to go Tennessee.
Right. I mean, if they were giving him 12 or 13 or 14 million a year, maybe the Chiefs, they say, hey, the best we're probably going to be able to do at all is going to be maybe 9 or 10 with some incentives. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't enough to get him. So,
well, our guy Cole said he was watching something, said the Chiefs never even offered him anything. So
maybe they didn't. I mean, I doubt they offered him anything because they didn't really have anything to offer. I think most of the talk and the speculation was that he was kind of talking to them, whispering through the back door saying, what do you think you might be able to get to if you were able to offer something? I think that's probably the way that conversation went. So, because without getting the Chris Jones deal done, they got no cap room anyway. So they couldn't have offered him a tenth of what Tennessee was offering him. What do you guys think about the Tennessee Titans now that they got DeAndre Hopkins? They're a team that made the playoffs a few years ago, gave the Chiefs a run for their money in the AFC Championship game that year. They have been in a weak division, so they've kind of cashed in and made the playoffs and won that division a few times. Ryan Tannehill at quarterback's getting older. Derrick Henry's getting older. But, I mean, they've got a chance. I think the Jags are the clear favorite in that division. What do we think? Do we think DeAndre Hopkins moves the needle a lot on that team as far as a contender in the AFC? Bo?
Well, as far as the Titans go, I think they're the clear winners in this trade. They've been missing that puzzle piece since they got rid of A.J. Brown, and I think this kind of makes up for it a little bit.
Yeah.
Does it move the needle to where it makes them automatically the best team in their division or a playoff contender? No, I don't know. I think the Jags still have their number. That division's kind of weak anyway, so it's kind of just those two teams, in my opinion. But good for them, man. I mean, like I said, I think that's a piece the team needed that they've been missing since. What a terrible trade. I just don't think DeAndre Hopkins is winning in this. I mean, he's winning in the sense he's getting paid a shit ton of money to go play some football, but I honestly don't think he wanted to go play for that team. That's just my opinion, though. Nick, how you feeling?
Well, a clear winner here is anybody that doesn't like the Patriots because they offered DeAndre Hopkins and he was just like, you guys got Bill O'Brien on your staff? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, fuck you. I'm out. So, but in reality, yeah, I don't know. The Titans were the 1 seed just a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
So now Derrick Henry's a couple years older and they've been riding that dude hard. So we'll see what he's got left in the tank. And John saying something about running backs talking about going on strike.
We're going to get to that.
At his age, Derrick Henry's got too many years to waste to a strike. But I think that they're going to be probably better than people think, right? People are acting like he went to some total garbage team. And, the Titans, even with like a Sims character at quarterback, took Patrick Mahomes' heroics at the end of the game to win. So they're not a slouch. Are they a Super Bowl contender? I don't think that they're going to win a Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. So I don't think that they're necessarily a Super Bowl contender, but I think that they're definitely a solid team, right? They have a good coach. Vrabel's a really good coach. They have a good defense, and as long as you have a good coach and a good defense, like you're going to be in a lot of games in the NFL. I mean, that's really like kind of a cheat code for not having a good quarterback. The Chiefs in the 90s, we saw that template play out over and over and over again, where you can have an underperforming offense as long as your defense can hold people to low points. Doesn't equate to a lot of Super Bowls, but definitely makes you a contender for the divisional round and maybe even a championship game.
Scott, do you think DeAndre Hopkins on the Titans moves the needle for them? Do you think it makes them a competitive team?
I think they'll play the Jags within a game or two of that for that division, and so that kind of puts them as like a fringe playoff team, wild card, or maybe division champion if the Jaguars take a step back. I don't expect that to happen with the Jaguars. Jaguars, a lot of people seem to be forgetting, they're adding Calvin Ridley back after his year's suspension on offense, who his last year in Atlanta was one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and he's young. So I think the Jaguars they played the Chiefs tough in the playoffs last year. They're no slouch. Trevor Lawrence really started to take off once they got Urban Meyer out of there, and it looks like they got a little bit better coaching in that organization. They shipped off the running back out of there, and I can't think of his name, Robinson, I think, and started playing Travis Etienne, who in Clemson was a beast, got hurt his first year in the NFL, missed a bunch of time. So that's a pretty talented squad in Jacksonville. I think they could be a real contender in the AFC. So I would pick them to win the division. I think Tennessee battles for a wild card spot, and I don't see D-Hop really making that much of a difference in Tennessee. Nick, it's interesting, like you said, though, they're year before last, they were the 1 seed, like you said, and they got bounced in the first round by the Bengals. So they were an AFC championship game 4 years ago against the Chiefs at Arrowhead, and till Patrick Mahomes went Superman. So they have a good coach. Yep. I think it's pretty widely recognized that Mike Vrabel is probably one of the better coaches in the conference, if not the league. So he gets a lot out of his guys. The quarterback position to me is too big of a question mark for them to be considered a serious contender up there with the Bills and the Chiefs and the Bengals and the Jags. So,
yeah, completely.
Didn't they get Will Levis in the draft? Maybe John or one of you guys know. Maybe our man John V. He was talking about their draft. He was like one of the most NFL-ready quarterback prospects coming into the draft here, and he slid all the way into the second or third round. He was kind of like the story of the draft. They kept showing him sitting there, and all these teams were passing by him, not getting picked.
His girlfriend got a modeling contract because she got so much TV time from him not getting picked.
She looked super happy during all that too.
Yeah. Dang, man, real quick, it looks like we got our man Tony from the Locker Room Rant. His wife had a baby boy.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome.
Go over and check out our guy John V and his buddy Tony and Nick at Locker Room Rant. If you've watched this show more than once, you've heard us talk about the Locker Room Rant. It's hilarious every Tuesday.
I'm glad John specified, because this day and age, you never know if it was Tony or his wife who had that boy.
Right, yeah. Tony. They were saying that last week. It was funny. They were saying Tony's having a baby, and I was thinking, isn't his wife the one having the baby? But that's a figure of speech people like to use. Funny, but congratulations, Tony. Looking forward to the Locker Room Rant on Tuesdays. Check you guys out. Well, we need to do another mashup here, maybe like kind of like we did our playoff preview show last year. Maybe we can hook up with those guys and do like a season preview show where we can pick some division winners or something. We need to work something out like that out. But getting back to the Titans and DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe he makes them from like a 10-7 to 11-6 team or something. I don't know. I don't see that quarterback position being solid enough. Guy, what was that guy's name that they played against the Chiefs last year? And of course, the Chiefs struggled in that game and needed Patrick Mahomes' heroics. But was that a Thursday night or Sunday night game at Arrowhead? Chiefs needed overtime to come back and beat the Titans. But quarterback they had that was playing for Tannehill was terrible.
Yeah,
that's why I called him a Sims character. because I mean, just like it's just
Oh, I thought you were talking about Ryan. I got you. I'm sorry. I missed that part. So
no. Malik Willis.
Malik Willis.
Yeah,
Um,
Malik Willis.
He did not look good. And the action that he got last year, now they've picked another quarterback, so they're trying to figure that out. I don't know. I like the Jags in that division, which kind of we talked about, but
it's funny because I was watching the quarterback documentary and they had that game on, and I was sitting there thinking about like me and my buddy were, because it was when I took the work trip to India. We're in the back of like a rickshaw, like going through like traffic in India, and I'm trying to like watch that game on my way to work in the morning on my phone, like spotty ass cell coverage. I was like, oh, this is way better, like watching it on a big screen TV. You can see what's going on.
Yeah. That's when you're texting me. Do you normally get this amount of pop-ups on the games you on these VPN channels? Like, yeah, man.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
No such thing as a free lunch, right? I mean, you're paying for it one way or another. So,
yep.
Hey, but off the Titans subject, I mean, we're kind of skirting around it. This whole Derrick Henry thing. You guys notice all the animosity around running backs right now, like the running backs in the NFL getting on Twitter and social media, kind of saying, "Hey, we're not getting paid what we're worth. These contracts, these receivers are getting ridiculous. What the hell?" kind of thing. Yeah. What do you guys think about all that? I mean, is it justified? I mean, I kind of think it is. It's such a loaded position where you just get hit every single time you're a part of the play, to where it's, I understand these guys' gripes, but curious to see what you guys think about everything going on the internet right now.
Yeah, I kind of teased this subject in the intro because Josh Jacobs on the Raiders, he's talking about maybe holding out this year. Saquon Barkley saying maybe he's going to hold out. So Josh Jacobs was kind of a revelation last year after having some pretty unremarkable seasons to start his career out there in Las Vegas with the Raiders. Nick, what do you think about all this turmoil and talk about running backs and being disrespected and what they're worth and teams not wanting to pay them big money?
I think the CBA and the Players Association should try to figure out how to help out that position so that it's a little more fair for them, right? Because most running backs after 5 or 6 years are pretty used up, right? I mean, you're going through, like, just think about this documentary or what we're talking about, and the most protected position in the league and how beat up some of these guys get, right? I mean, Kirk Cousins had his rib injuries. Marcus Mariota had a knee surgery like in mid-season. Mahomes got his high ankle sprain. Now think about like how much punishment a running back gets and what that's like on their bodies.
Yeah.
And so like the owners are just being real, and they're like, look, I'm not going to recoup my investment on giving you $25 million a year like I am on a wide receiver, because you know the punishment is there and you're going to decline. And there's a lot of guys that can come in like an Isaiah Pacheco or a Kareem Hunt, these mid to late round guys that can come in, flash and do the position. They've made the rules favorable for, quarterbacks so that the passing game is more and more and more important. And so you can get by with average running backs and win a Super Bowl, right? And do well as before. Like it was like, okay, well, these flashy teams with wide receivers are great, but man, come December and January and February, you're going to need to have that ground and pound. You're going to need to be able to control the clock and all this. So I think that really what they need to do is they need to look and say, okay, so how do we make these running back contracts like on their rookie deals, like more fair to them? And I don't know if that's an answer they'll come up with, honestly, but I think that both sides have a good point here, right? I mean, the running backs are like, hey, we're providing a lot of value, taking a lot of punishment. And then as soon as it's like time to pay us, it's like, well, we're on to the next guy. And then the owners are like, well, that's because like you're used up. I mean, what do you want me to do? You want me to pay you for stuff you've already done? They're just running a business, right? So.
Yeah, Nick, you kind of hit on the way I feel right there. Like whenever you see a player demanding a trade or wanting a bigger contract because he's outperformed the contract he signed, and he's just looking out for the best interest of him and his family, and it's a business, right? And players leave teams for a better contract, or they want traded another team because they want to win or whatever. I got to think of what's best for me and my career and my family. But then when a team is looking at a guy like Saquon Barkley, who has an injury history, who's getting older, plays a position that's already like prone to injury and shortened lifespan. That's just business that the teams aren't wanting to give mega contracts to these guys. So I have a hard time feeling bad for these running backs. If you're a young person playing football, learn to play cornerback or wide receiver or quarterback. I mean, that'd be my advice. So, but look, the running back position is becoming more and more, I'm not going to say obsolete, but it's just not as important to winning football as it used to be. I mean, the days of Marty Ball and ground and pound and all that, those days are gone, man. Like, look at the Chiefs last year. Isaiah Pacheco, fine player, but no one's going to mistake him for a Nick Chubb or a Saquon Barkley, right? The Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Jerick McKinnon, a journeyman, third down pass catching back that the Chiefs picked up on a 1-year deal. He comes in, helps the Chiefs win the Super Bowl last year, was a major contributor in the year before that in the playoffs, and he's signing 1-year deals 2 months before training camp, right? I mean, it's just that position just isn't going to get big, is not going to get big money. Owners are like you said, Nick, it's just business. It's not personal with these players. It's not personal with the position. I don't know what you do about getting them paid earlier, because if you force teams to give them like rookie deals worth more money, what if they're not good?
Yeah, what if you go CEH, right?
Right. I mean, CEH, prime example.
First
round draft pick. I didn't produce.
You can do it based on like percentage of yardage, or there's things that you could do. I mean, to try to figure it out.
How do you know? Like, how do you calculate that ahead of time? Because you got to know like what it's going to be. Like, because you got to sign other deals, contracts. Like, if he gets this percentage of our yards, he's going to get this much. I mean, that's hard to. Because now you're not even knowing really what the contract's going to be worth until the season's over, right? Or am I misunderstanding what you're saying?
I'm thinking, look way outside the box, right? They say, hey, look, we're gonna either suffer where nobody's gonna be a running back and it's gonna hurt the product, or even worse, like we're gonna have some of these premier guys like take a stand and sit out, right? Okay, so what if we had like an incentive for them where, hey, during your first years, like you get paid, X amount of dollars extra based on however many carries you have, whatever your yards per carry is, whatever percentage of the team's yardage you have, and then that gets added into the salary, doesn't count against the team. There's all sorts of things that they could do, right? I mean, if they're willing to negotiate, both sides are willing to agree, they can do whatever they want. I mean, there's not a law, right? The FBI is not going to come in and throw them in jail if they change the way that the salary cap's negotiated. Will they do it? Do I expect that they'll do it? I don't think so, right? Because right now the owners are getting a lot of value for not a lot of money. And so unless they're forced to do something different, they won't. But I mean, I just think that that's what the union is for. That's why the players have the players union, and the players union needs to come up with some creative solutions to figure it out for these guys, right? I mean, there's a way that they could do it to make it more fair. But, I think it's kind of like what you're saying, Scott. Like, okay, so the running back position is now no longer that premier position. Look at the tight ends, right? I mean, like Travis Kelce should be $30 million a year, right? He's not. There's just certain positions when you play that position, like going in, just like certain professions that you have, right? You're going to limit out at a certain amount of money where you're not going to be able to make more money unless you do something different. So
just a couple of things. I do agree with a lot of the things you guys just said, but like I got John B. I gotta have John B's back here. I can feel him typing away either on his phone or at the keyboard. Like, what about my team? My team's such a super heavy run team, right? Like the 49ers, they don't have Christian McCaffrey. They don't go to the NFC Championship, right? They don't go as far as they did. Like they're heavily predicated on the run game, and as I think John B would agree with me. And as he also brought up, could you imagine if the Bills had a run game? How much more they would be in the conversation about being like right under the Chiefs?
Well, they do have a run game. It's called Josh Allen running the ball, but
yeah, I mean a real run game with a running back, right? It's one of those positions. Like I feel like you brought up the point of like, what if you pay all this money and the guy's not good? that can happen with any position. I mean, look at Deshaun Watson, look at Russell Wilson, right? Like how much money did these teams pay and kind of flopped on them harder than a running back getting good money would. To that point, I don't necessarily think that the running back is a position that like you should necessarily glance over. I think the Chiefs have it real nice in the sense that we have, I mean, CEH, as much as we criticize him, he's a decent running back. You're right. You're not going to mistake him for a Nick Chubb or a Derrick Henry by any means. But with Pacheco and McKinnon right there, like the three of them, they all bring something so different to the table that it's hard for other teams to game plan against. I mean, McKinnon had 8 catches out of the backfield for a touchdown this year, set a record for running back receiving touchdowns. Pacheco only played 7-8 games and had 800 yards, right? So like, who knows if you give that guy a full season, what he could really do. I think I lean more towards the running back players position in this whole thing, that like, I feel like they're a little undervalued. I can't, it's hard to say as like a whole, right? You can't say like running backs need to be paid this, tight ends need to be paid that. I feel like players need to be paid certainly. If you're a player that dominates that position, like Kelsey, as Nick brought up in the tight end position, right? Like he obviously kind of needs to get paid because he's the most dominant tight end to ever play the game. He's being compared to some of the greatest receivers to play the game. Right. But like, I feel like running backs have that position. Derrick Henry, a la in Tennessee, right? Like Tennessee is not Tennessee without Derrick Henry. And when he was King Henry, he was a game changer. Teams would completely change their game plan on how they would face the tight.
Never played in the Super Bowl though.
Right. But I mean, to like kind of glance over the running back position as not being like
you got paid too, though, right?
I don't know.
I guess I don't.
A lot.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I guess like I'm not saying like glance over it, but they're not worth these mega deals that they were asking for either. I feel like they're wanting more than what teams should or are willing to pay them, and I think they're wanting more money than they're worth too. I mean, I'm not saying don't pay them at all, but you want the Chiefs to sign Saquon Barkley to 5 years, $150 million deal next year? I don't.
No.
So I think Nick makes a good point, but perhaps they're a little bit undervalued and they're a little bit underpaid. But at the same time, you can't pay them huge money. I mean, if your highest paid player on your team is your running back or your second or higher, you're going to struggle. And I know John B talks about the running game, but I mean, what happened in that championship game? Like they had a quarterback like get injured, and they had to start basically relying on the run. And
4 quarterbacks get injured, right? Like
right, but I mean, right, like what I'm saying is, if their run game is that strong, they're that run dependent, you should be able to put in a second or third or fourth string quarterback and hand the ball off to Christian McCaffrey and run the ball down the Eagles' throats. And
if you're putting in your
run out of the
fourth string quarterback, I'm pretty sure you are run dependent and you're not passing at all. You don't have no trust in a fourth string quarterback. But I know what you're saying.
They got their asses handed to them as the result, right?
Right, because they couldn't they couldn't pass the ball because they didn't have the quarterback. George Kittle, when he goes down, their offense suffers through that. I mean, it's a passing league. That's all there is to it. It's a passing league. You look at the teams that win the Super Bowls are in the thick of it every year. 8 out of 10 of them, 9 out of 10 of them are teams with elite quarterbacks that can throw the ball and have killer wide receiving cores, and teams that overpay running backs. They're teams that, they might win 10, 11, 12 games and get a decent playoff seed and win the division, but they're getting bounced by Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl because of Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, and scoring quick points, putting up 21 points in the fourth quarter, right?
Right.
So
my point is just that if you look at the amount of value they're going to provide to a team, even for a really good running back, because of the way that the rookie contracts are structured, where you get a 4-year guaranteed rookie contract or 3 years with a 4th-year option, or first rounders 4 years with a 5th-year option, like 5 years for a premier running back is, what do they have of like premier running back years in them? 5 to 7, so like, it's not like it's not like a Deandre Hopkins where, the running back's going to be 31 and hitting the market and have lots of suitors out there, because by that time they're beat up, man. Their bodies just don't sustain.
Right. I understand the longevity standpoint, but like, as far as like value added to a team, like what would the Browns be without Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt? Not in
Yeah,
this
I mean,
conversation, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how many Super Bowls have they been to?
Well, I mean, right. I mean,
They made the playoffs one year, and then they couldn't beat Chad Henne for half of a game with
they
Nick
would
Chubb
just
and
continue to
Kareem
be the
Hunt.
Browns. All I'm saying is like the Browns, like the past couple of years have been in the talk a little bit, right? Like they got players, they got some competition, and
1 year in the
largely I would
playoffs.
say because of Chubb and Hunt.
Yeah, but they didn't put them over the top and make them contenders. Is my point. So expecting
Yeah,
running
yeah.
backs, expecting to get paid like top shelf wide receivers or some of these guys, they're not as valuable, and they're
I don't
not
know,
going
like,
to get that
I
money.
haven't heard,
the
like,
value that Tyreek
receiver
Hill
money.
added to the Dolphins is much higher than if you had taken Nick Chubb and added him to the Dolphins.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that's what
right.
Scott's saying. And so,
Right. And running backs are wanting to get paid like Tyreek Hill. They're wanting to get $25, $30 million a year, and it's just not going to happen. And I just don't think they're worth that much money personally.
yeah.
And I think it's bad business for a team to sign a running back to that kind of a contract. And we hear all the time, well, it's just business, right? It's just business when a team's got to do what's best for the player, wants a trade or signs a deal and thinks he's outperforming it and wants more money. And I got to think about me and what's best for me and my family. And it's just a business. And this is a business. This is a business. And then when teams make it out of like a business, it's like all these teams are ripping these players off.
No, I just
So,
all equated to
I'm
the
more on
music
team side
industry.
than the player one on this issue. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'll equate it to the music industry, right? Like it's kind of like to me, it's kind of like those contracts that they would sign. Like the band Kansas was notorious for having a bunch of huge hits, and they never made like any money because they got signed to like this like 6-record deal. They're like, oh yeah, but after the first 6 albums, you're going to start like getting all the money, And it's like, well, yeah, but I mean, how many bands have more than 6 really good albums? And so I think they're kind of stacking those rookie deals against the running backs, right? So I just think that again, but that's up to the players, like the players organization, that like their representatives signed that deal to try to get the guaranteed rookie contracts. So,
I mean,
so is
Go ahead,
Saquon a free agent? Is that what I'm hearing out of all this conversation? We could get Saquon?
No. I think he's still got a year left. He's like wanting like a hardcore, wanting like a huge extension.
Or Hunt. Brenda's got the right idea. She'd trade CH for Hunt straight up. I would too.
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat, I'd take Kareem Hunt over Clyde Edwards. I'd take Joe Hunt over Clyde Edwards-Helaire on this team. So
I'd take Scott over CH.
But yeah, no, I just don't. Again, like it's business, and I understand that these guys thinking they're underpaid and what they are. But I've always been of the belief too. You're worth what you can get someone to pay you. These guys talking about sitting out a year because they're not getting the deal they want. How'd that work out for Le'Veon Bell?
Right.
It cost Le'Veon Bell a lot of money. So
maybe he got a lot of money.
Maybe that's a small sample size, and maybe that's not a good case study to go off of. But he sat out because he wanted bigger money, and the Steelers said, we're not giving it to you. And he ended up going around, and his career was basically over, and he got nothing. So
there's a lot of running backs too right now for free agency, right? Like Zeke, Hunt, Saquon. Apparently, I didn't know that one, but did Dalvin Cook sign with anybody?
Someone look up real quick. I think the Giants are trying to like franchise tag him or something to Saquon. Like he has to play for them this year if he doesn't sign a new deal. I think that's why he's thinking about sitting out.
Did Cook sign with anybody? I've been camping and everything. I've been out of the loop this week.
Did who sign with anybody?
Dalvin Cook from the Vikings running back. Dude, there's so many running backs out there right now.
Yeah, and I think teams are gonna kind of like sit back and go the old Adrian Peterson route with some of these guys. Like, wait until your number one running back goes down with injury week 9, and you need a running back, and you call up Kareem Hunt or something.
Come on in. We'll take
you guys.
Let's do it.
So it says in March, the team offered him Saquon Barkley a franchise tag, which would have paid him $10 million for the 2023 season. So he declined to sign the tender. And so now that's where it's at, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's probably worth more than 10 million, but if he's wanting to get 25 or 30 million, he ain't worth that either. And that's like with a lot of things, and not just football, but in business and life. A like the truth is usually somewhere in the middle, right? They're underpaid, but they're also probably being a little greedy and asking for more than what they're realistically worth and what the team should like wisely be willing to
Yes
pay
and
for,
no,
right?
but the way the draft's set up, like really good players go to really shitty teams. Like, let's not
Sure.
like negate that fact too, right?
No,
And
sure.
some of these guys are like, hey, put me in a good system. I will perform, but like I want to get paid too.
Right. Saquon, though, he's been hurt more than he hasn't, right, in his career. I mean, I don't think he's other side from last year's. He had one season where he played like a majority of the year because of injury, which even goes more to the point that these teams are making about paying him big money. I mean, they're in between a rock and a hard spot for sure. I mean, I sympathize with them, but I think there's far more positions on the field. But Josh Jacobs, if he sits out, it's not going to hurt my feelings on the Las Vegas Raiders this year. So
Bro, I would take any of these running backs we're talking about on free agency. I don't know. Like, is it just me? Like,
Come to the
they
Chiefs.
gotta have the
baby.
money, man.
that's a list and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. Dalvin Cook would be interesting because he's a hell of a pass catching running back. Kareem Hunt, it's hard to tell what you got with Kareem Hunt right now because of being a backup the last couple of years and sitting out. I mean, he's getting aged, but it's like that car that sits in the garage, right? And only driving on Sunday. I mean, it's low miles. It's low miles, but it's still older, right? I mean, so it's going to affect his performance somewhat. How much? It's hard
His
to tell.
gaskets are dried out, man. Sitting around.
Right. They call that lot rot. I think
Get
it's
him
what's
training with Stroob, man. Just get some new oil in that engine, right? Get some new liquids.
Stroop.
Yeah. John B, I think you're right. I think the Dolphins are interested in Dalvin Cook. There's people saying the Bills should be interested in Dalvin Cook. Go play with his little brother. I don't want to see Dalvin Cook on Bills, but
I wouldn't either. Because like I just said, could you imagine the Bills with like a formidable running game other than Josh Allen trying to do it himself? He even said he's trying to take a step back this year, so I could see them going for a running back.
Yeah, I mean, the more they run the ball, the better to me for the Bills. Every time they hand it off to somebody instead of chucking it to Stephon Diggs, like
if that guy's Dalvin Cook, though, I'm like, no, thank you.
No, I mean he'd make them better, but I don't know how much better. And hey, teams that want to get a high dollar running back and hurt their ability to sign more players and get wide receivers and corners and re-sign defensive players, go do it, man. Go get you one of these high-priced running backs that's going to be hurt after week 7. Wouldn't hurt my feelings at all. Talking about quarterbacks, Bo, how far have you gotten into quarterback on Netflix?
Oh man, I'm ashamed to say I've only gotten to like season or episode 5. Like I haven't.
That's not bad.
Haven't gotten to be able to like binge it and go all the way through. Patrick just had his baby. I think that's the episode I watched.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's getting towards the end. That's getting towards the good part. Well, I mean, it was all good. I mean, I shouldn't say it like that, but yeah, you're starting getting like the playoff episodes now, and yeah.
Dude, if you're a quarterback in the league, do you sign up for quarterback? Do you sign up for Netflix to just follow you around like that all year? Especially if like you're like Marcus Mariota. We talked about this last week, right? We were like joking around like elite, mid-tier, lower tier, maybe on the cusp of maybe losing his job kind of thing. Like Mariota's got to know the position he's in, where he's at and everything. Like, do you think, I don't know, would you sign up if that was you, like have your life, you think, yeah, it's kind of what I'm thinking.
I mean, I don't know how much money they paid them guys, but I guarantee it was in the millions. I mean, to do that.
But if you're Patrick Mahomes, that's what you sign up for, right? You sign up for that season, that thing, you go on, you win it. What a hell of a season to have documented, like ins and outs, how you're feeling for every game, how your teammates and coaches are feeling. Like, what a cool thing
to show off your mansion that you're building. Like, I mean,
right. Dude, I mean,
after watching quarterback, I mean, I binged it Saturday.
Nice.
I ended up not doing anything Saturday night, so I just laid on the couch upstairs and watched 5 episodes in a row, I think, and finished it out. I think Nick closed it out today, so we won't do too many spoiler alerts, but what a show. Like, go back to, let's talk about, like, I know this isn't
quality TV for anybody that hasn't seen it.
Spoiler alert, Chiefs win the Super Bowl.
Right.
I don't know if you guys know that, but it's Chiefs podcast, and it's been a couple months now.
And I realize the show's not called like Skull Kingdom Live, but I got a ton more respect for Kirk Cousins after watching that show.
100, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it seems like, I mean, he's kind of a doofus, like kind of a nerd, right? Kind of goofy or whatever, but you can just tell he's a solid dude. And talking about like having bruised ribs, and he's looking at him, he goes, "Oh yeah, the bruises haven't come through to the surface yet." And he's out there just getting drilled by the Cowboys defense in that one episode. And you can hear him when he's laying on the ground, like he's like, like, and he's like, he gets up, man, and he goes out there and he stands in the pocket and delivers another strike for a big play and takes another shot in the broken ribs. Like that.
Remember
guy,
when Patrick Mahomes rolled his
bro.
ankle and they had the audio of him just like yelling, "Oh!" You're like, dude,
Yeah.
he was in pain. Same thing with Kirk Cousins. Like when he takes those shots and he's just laying there on the ground, like just in pain. It's just, and he, like you just said, gets up, still starts doing his job, right? Like just a different level of respect for those guys, man. Like,
he makes hella plays. He makes some amazing throws and big clutch moments, and he's a little bit better than I thought he was. He's a little bit better than I gave him credit for at the quarterback position. It's just he's not Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or Josh Allen, right? He's just that next tier down. But yeah, I'm a Kirk Cousins fan after watching quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of think they're lining him up to be like Coach Kirk or maybe commentator.
Oh
Kirk,
yeah, he
right?
could
Like I
definitely
kind of feel like it's like a little puff piece, maybe get the public interested in like, hey, we love this guy, right? Like want him in your ear for games. He knows what he's talking about. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a contract for him to be broadcasting in the future.
Right. Did you guys see they renewed the quarterback for another season with Netflix?
I did.
What 3 quarterbacks you think will be on there next?
Burrow or Allen? For sure,
Yeah.
one of them.
Tannehill.
So I was asking you that question. Do you sign up for that if you're a quarterback in this league, right? This first round, right? I was like, I don't know. I bet you everybody's signing up for that shit now.
Oh,
right?
they're wanting to do it. Yeah,
Guaranteed.
Okay, so I kind of sprung that on you because I wasn't planning on asking that question. So I'll give you a minute here to think about it. I'll talk about my guys, right? Okay. I would go Josh Allen. Then I would probably go like a mid-tier guy, like a Tua. And then my bottom guy kind of trying to hang on, using Nick's formula that he came up with from watching this first season. Like Derek Carr, journeyman to the Saints, trying to hang on in the league, right? I mean,
that's a good call.
So that's who I'm going. I'm going Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa, and Derek Carr will be my 3 for season 2 of quarterback on Netflix.
Dude, Tua is a good pick because man, he's got a lot to prove this next year, right? That's a good pick.
He's one of those mid-tier guys, right? I mean, he's not quite up there with the top shelf guys, but still pretty decent. I don't know if you can come up with anybody that quick off your head, Bo.
Yeah,
but
sure. I was thinking Burrow or Allen, right? So just to go against you, I'll go Burrow. Because I feel like it's got to be one of those two, right? As far as like the next top tier, competitive, people know him, popular quarterback. Mid-tier, maybe Matt Ryan, right? Like a little older in the league. Maybe that's the bottom, maybe on the cusp.
Yeah. I think he'd be more of your bottom shelf.
Yeah, if you put him on the bottom and then you put in the middle. Oh, let's see, a good middle QB that would be like good entertainment.
Justin Herbert.
I'm thinking like a Justin Love or
Jordan Love.
Excuse me. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a first-year guy. He was a first-round draft pick. So
right, little comeback story maybe right there built in.
Yeah, Nick.
All right, so you guys already took the 2 obvious ones. So we'll say top tier. We'll go.
You're out of quarterbacks. There's no more top tier quarterbacks.
Jackson. After signing the big contract, what can he do? That would be an interesting deal, right?
And feel free to steal one of mine too. I mean, this isn't like
no, that's fine. And then mid tier, Ryan Tannehill, right? Hey, Ryan Tannehill, he's had that, kind of mid-level success. He's made it to an AFC Championship game. He's got D-Hop. Like what can he do this season? Lower tier, kind of a bottom feeder, hanging on. Nobody has faith in. I mean, we got to go Russell Wilson and the Donkeys and see what
Dude,
what
that is
can happen with him
That's good.
and Sean Payton.
That's an A+ selection. Not only because he's like he fits that mold or like you said that model or that formula that you came up with, but you also get to shit on the Broncos. So very well done. I like
All
that.
right, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Gold star, dude, to you for the Russell Wilson slander.
Gee, thanks,
I love it.
Dad.
Yeah, no,
Top of your head too. Well done, son.
right. Yeah, no, there's lots of interesting choices out there. Justin Herbert maybe is your middle tier guy, talented guy, but he's never got over the hump. So
People I think would want to watch him.
maybe I could even go like Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Derek Carr. But yeah, Brenda's in the chat. I'd like to see who all else. I mean, it's chat. Throw your 3 in there. I'm guessing they would do 3 again. I don't know. Maybe they do 2. Maybe they only do. I mean,
Tua, Burrow, and Lawrence.
if ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I mean, but yeah, watching Patrick Mahomes. I mean, the dude just won Netflix too, right? I mean, won the Super Bowl, wins MVPs.
He's got the gilded touch. Everything he touches turns to gold, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of funny watching like Marcus Mariota. He got benched and then left the team, which was kind of weird, but he was injured. So he said he had surgeries. I didn't quit on the team. I was playing through pain and giving the team everything I had. And once they went to somebody else, I didn't have anything left at that point. So I needed to have the surgery to give myself a chance to come back the next year. I thought Mariota kind of got the raw end of this deal on that whole thing about getting trashed for leaving the team because he got benched. I mean, if he had surgery, he was rehabbing his knee. These guys was out there playing with a torn meniscus. That shit hurts. Like,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But
Brenda brings up a good point. Nobody said Hurts. Jalen Hurts. That would be a good top tier QB to follow.
Yeah, I'd like to see Jalen Hurts have more than one really good year. I'd still put him in there as like a top quarterback, but I don't have him quite in that Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Aaron Rodgers tier, top shelf guy. Rodgers had a rough year last year, but he's not too far removed from an MVP season.
Could you imagine if they had Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, just those off-field personalities on the same show?
Now Nick's talking. Now we're getting like big names up in here. That's marketability right there.
John B. He's got Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, and Trey Lance. There you go. Trey Lance is my
top tier quarterback.
Well, no, Brett or Laney, obviously. He's going to be the lower one.
Yeah.
Laney stole my joke.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just that's assuming they use that same formula too. I mean, like a top, a middle, and a bottom tier guy. I think Derek Carr with the Saints is like a lock, right? I mean,
I wonder if they'll watch that though, and they're going to see like.
I don't want to watch him just. We know he's susceptible to crying. Like, who wants to watch a grown man cry?
John V had Trey Lance on his pick there. He's my secret weapon in fantasy this year. You watch. I'm picking up some Trey Lance in very late rounds of fantasy football leagues this year. So a little fantasy football, especially if you're in super flex, right? And you don't want to burn like your second or third round pick on a mid-tier quarterback. Just wait until the last rounds and pick you up a Trey Lance, because I got news for you. Brock Purdy ain't it, man. Like, they gave up too much to go up and move up and get Trey Lance to just jettison him off and let Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, take over the team. That's not going to happen.
Dude, I can see the 49ers having like a Drew Brees and Taysom Hill battle where they're just like, I don't know what to do here. Put them both in. Let's run a wildcat. Put them both in and see what teams do against this shit. Like, he's good, man. But yeah, Trey Lance is phenomenal. He's just such an athlete compared to Brock Purdy. But proof is in the pudding. Brock Purdy, he's what 6-1, 6-0 or something like that last year.
Yeah, that was system. They play kind of a weak schedule down the stretch there. So I don't. Trey Lance has got to be better than Brock Purdy. If you gave up 3 first and second round picks or a combination of whatever it was, 2 first and second to move up and get Trey Lance, and then you picked Brock Purdy with the last pick in the draft and he's better, there needs to be some people losing their job in the 49ers organization. I'm sorry, you can't do that. That's inexcusable. Front office work right there.
I will say
Joby's
this
right
about Netflix quarterback though. You're talking about having all this respect for Kirk Cousins. One thing I noticed about Kirk Cousins, even being like the humble homer that we're all kind of saying that he is, these guys all listen to the pundits and the shit talking by other players, and they're on Twitter and they see what everybody's saying, right? We've always kind of speculated, how much do you guys think these guys see it? They see it all. They see it all. And I found that so fascinating, especially somebody like Kirk Cousins, who knows that he has the prime time hype around his name, right? That he's not able to like produce in those situations. I thought that was just fascinating that like, yeah, these guys do hear it.
And he was like, well, here's all my game balls from Sunday Night Football. It's weird that they
yeah, it's weird that they think that.
His record wasn't as bad as it seemed to be portrayed on primetime games after watching that series. Like he did have now a lot of those were when he was with Washington, so not necessarily with Minnesota. And his record still was like, I mean, fairly well below 500. So it wasn't like he was tearing it up, but I was thinking that his record was a little bit worse in primetime games than it was.
Are you saying you were shocked to find out that something that was a mainstream media narrative
right.
may
I mean, I was expecting his career record in primetime games to be like 4-15 or something, you know, the way they talk about it.
Right.
But I think it's since he's gotten to Minnesota the last handful of years, it hasn't been quite as good. So
probably the thing that, and Bo, I know, sorry, spoiler alert, because you haven't seen this episode yet, so sorry about that. But probably the thing that I liked or respected the most about Kirk Cousins was, dude, like they're leaving the game. It's him and his wife in his car after they just lost. They got bounced first round of the playoffs, right? And like he stops his car and he sees fans with stuff, and like he like rolls down his window and he's signing their gear, right?
yeah.
Like the dude didn't have to do that. He just lost, right? I mean, just got to be just super disappointed. And he's like, hey, thanks guys. I really appreciate, your support. He's, bless you, all this stuff. He signs all their stuff. He, gives it to him. That gave me a lot of respect for that guy. Cause I mean, everybody can be, the most gracious person in the world, like when things are going well. But seeing how he treated the fan base and those people, like probably in the worst day of his professional career, was pretty awesome. So
and going right off of that, all 3 of those guys in that entire documentary, I mean, I'm only on episode 5, but their professionalism about handling losses and just when things aren't going their way is something it's super admirable, just from being like an average Joe watching it, right? Because sometimes as a fan, I let my emotions get the best of me, and I'm cursing and yelling and shit. And these guys are just like, all right, we're on next. Here we go. It's just like, I need to adapt more of that kind of attitude. Like, here we go. Let's go. Got number 15. No worries here.
Yeah. I think the baby episode was the one where they played the Rams, right?
Yeah.
And he was riding with Brittany after the game. Patrick was. He's like, that game wasn't too good.
He won by like 16 points.
Only won by 16 points.
Right. Well, I don't know if anybody else has got their picks in there for quarterback for next season 2, or if there's anything else you guys want to talk about, but I got to pretty much everything I had.
Let's see
we had set up. So
I had the question. Which quarterbacks, in your guys' opinion, needs to show up this year? I kind of alluded to it with Tua, in my opinion, as far as like, if anybody's to have a Cinderella story this year, like who would you want to see have a good year? I mean, obviously Patrick Mahomes, can't pick him because we obviously wanted him to have the best year and win again. But if you're going to look back at last season especially, and see like all the quarterbacks there that had, a rough season or something, who would you like to see have a Cinderella year, a comeback year, so to say? For me, it's Tua, especially all the stuff that he went through, the injuries and everything. I'd like to see him do well. And fan of the cheetah, I like to see him do well too. I just like to see the Dolphins become a competitive team again. How about you guys? Scott?
Aaron Rodgers in New York.
All right.
I like to see Aaron Rodgers. He's got weapons out there now. I know they had Devontae Adams, but they kept overpaying running backs and Aaron Jones and gave him that big contract, and they just kept neglecting the wide receiver position and weren't getting him weapons in the early rounds. And it seems like they were just going out of their way to piss that dude off. Like it was a weird situation there towards the end with him. And
Really was.
I know he gets a lot of heat in the publicity, but I think a lot of it is just because he doesn't play their game and he doesn't like give them all the inside info. And when they put stuff out about him, he kind of like fights back against it. And so I think he gets kind of a bad rap in the media. So yeah, although he's an AFC team, they play the Chiefs. So I hope he doesn't play too good that game. But yeah, I'd like to see Aaron Rodgers get back and play. I would rather him have done it on an NFC team like the 49ers or something. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers is a guy I'd like to see have a bounce back year. Nick?
Yeah, that's a great answer, man.
Is it somebody that did not play well or had a bad season, or is it just who do you want?
I mean, they can have a great season. Who would you like to see do well as a quarterback next year, other than Patrick Mahomes? Just to.
So Kirk Cousins might be too easy because we just talked a lot about him, but so that would be like my 1A, because like I've been to the stadium, and I went before we had really had success, the success we're having now. And like, I always felt kind of like the Vikings were kind of like the Chiefs of the NFC. And like there's teams that are terrible, but then there's teams that had really good teams and like still just never figured out how to get it done. And the Chiefs and Vikings were kind of those two teams. And so I'd root for the Vikings, obviously. Ash is a Vikings fan, so I'd like to see her happy. So Kirk Cousins, but then also a guy that really, I think, got kind of shit on unfairly this past season that I'd like to see have a bounce back year. And John, I mean, I'm not just pandering, is Trey Lance, right? You look at like all the stuff that's happened, like that dude, like he got 2 or 3 games. They ran him and like he broke his leg. And then it's just, now it's like the fan base is kind of turned on him. They're like not really saying he's going to be the definitive starter. I'd like to see that guy come out and have some success this year, because I don't feel like he ever got a fair shake, man. He got drafted high. He didn't really play his first year, got hurt. And then, somebody steps in and wins a bunch of games. It just feels kind of raw for him. So I'd like to see him have some success.
Didn't that happen to Burrow too? Right? Like, didn't he get hurt and waxed his first year? And
He blew out his knee, right?
Yeah, the terrible offensive line they had his first year there. Not that it really gotten much better since then.
I'm not going to be rooting for Joe Burrow this year.
I thought they were trying to kill him. Like, I thought the coaches had a grudge against him, and they were literally just trying to have him get hurt. It looks so bad.
That's tanking a little too far for that, because they wanted to go out and get a. I've seen the conspiracy theorists online saying that they got him hurt on purpose with that terrible line so they could get a high pick the next year and go out and get Jamar Chase and get him a really good wide receiver. And I'm like,
there's an argument to be made. There's a lot of video evidence out there that shows that dude, right?
Laney's picking Jordan Love. She's like, that wouldn't really be a bounce back, but that would be a young guy having a big year. That's his first year with that team.
Cinderella year, right? Like a good year.
I just don't know what he looked bad when I saw him at Arrowhead play the Chiefs a couple of years ago. He looked terrible.
The Packers kind of shot themselves in the foot. I don't even think they really have like a complete football team at this point.
No, yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Like, they never gave Aaron Rodgers all that much of a defense. Like, you look at his career, playoff record and losses, and like the average points he scored in his playoff losses was like 30 or some shit. It's like 29 or 30 or 31, and he lost. Like, that was the average number of points he put up on offense with Green Bay in their playoff losses. Never gave him a defense. Neglected the weapons there outside of Devontae Adams after like Randall Cobb. He wanted Randall Cobb back, and they got rid of him, let him walk. Never spent like a high round draft pick on receiver for that guy. I never understood kind of what the deal was there. It's almost like he got like in a pissing match with the general manager, and the general manager was like, "I'll show you." Like, dude, He's a fucking Hall of Fame quarterback, man. You like get in line and like make the dude happy. I'm not saying you got to bend over backwards and cave to every demand, but you could help the guy out a little bit more than you did. So
he did have Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, and Robert Tonyan, right? Like,
yeah, Tanyan's
not
okay.
shabby players in all their positions.
No, but I mean, they spent a first-round pick on Jordan Love instead of wide receiver.
Yeah, completely mind-fucked him that same year. I get
like,
that.
what?
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine the Chiefs going out next year's draft and picking a quarterback in the first round? What are you doing?
Right.
I mean, so yeah, and then going back to the running back situation, overpaying running backs. I thought they were going to be like the first team that figured it out. They went out and they drafted A.J. Dillon a year ahead of when Aaron Jones was going to want a big payday, and I said, oh, they're figuring it out. There's a team that's got it, and then they still fucking pay Aaron Jones a ridiculous contract and a ton of money. I was like, man, you were that close to doing it right. You almost aced the test, but you flopped there on the last 5 or 10 questions, so ended up failing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this football season coming up. Looking forward to
it's right around the corner, man. If you get on a tall enough hill in Kentucky and you look way out to the horizon, I think you can see the season right out there.
Right, it's out there.
It's right around there.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be doing a giveaway for my preseason tickets to the Browns game too here at some point. So I'm gonna put together something for that. Get an Arrowhead.
Another CKL giveaway includes tickets to a game.
Yep. I think I'm gonna do my preseason tickets, and then, like I said, we'll do the CKL Fantasy Football League, and I don't know what we'll do for a prize. We got plenty of time to figure that out. I mean, we won't even draft until probably the last week or two of the preseason. So, we need to get a cool CKL trophy, and then like do the league every year. And then, like, whoever wins gets to hang on to the trophy for a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, that'd be cool. So do something like that.
Have you seen those championship belts, like the wrestling belts they make for fantasy teams? I dig those.
Yeah,
I could use me a championship belt. Cool wrong side. Right here. There we go. Right there.
There you go. Yeah. So if you're interested in that, hit us up. Send us a DM or go follow us on Twitter, or get a lot of people on here know how to get a hold of me or Nick or Bo anyway. So I know you guys want to get out of here. You got anything else you want to talk about? Yeah, man. We could wrap it up. That's a good week. All right. Well, good show. Lots of good stuff to talk about. The off season's winding down with training camp starting, and we got some good things to talk about this week. Hope everybody enjoyed the conversation as much as I did, and as much as I'm sure Bo and Nick did as well. Can't thank you all enough for coming in and watching and liking and subscribing. And we're going to get some giveaways going on here now that the season's starting up. Trying to think of maybe some other ways to grow the channel too. So if there's anything out there that you think would help, anything you want to see, anything you think would be a way to improve the show, don't hesitate to reach out to us and help us out. We always appreciate all of our people spreading the word. I see you all on social media and telling your friends and telling your family and telling other Chiefs fans. We sure do appreciate it. We'll be back next week with some more training camp news. Yep. And until then, let's go Chiefs. Hey, Scott, what are we doing next week, Scott? Oh, yeah, it's the same thing we do every week. Talk about the Chiefs. Throw it in there. It's an inside joke between us. Go Chiefs. See you guys next week. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Love you guys. Bye.